Well, you didn't go for a major label. You set up your own thing, W Records. So why was this important for you? Why was it important to have that freedom, that control?
I remember going on X Factor when I was like 14,
Sure.
and it was like right when I started singing. I really didn't have a ton of experience. I had zero music industry experience and a little bit of singing experience. I didn't want to do it because I was very young and I didn't think that I was ready for it. And I made it a couple rounds, got eliminated. It was whatever. And but I made friends on there, and I ended up watching the rest of the season. And I remember at 14 just taking mental notes and kind of studying the different paths that each artist were taking. I remember Bea Miller, who's my ex-girlfriend, the girl that we just broke up recently, but I remember watching her. She took the major route. I remember watching a couple other artists that I'm still friends with on Facebook and stuff take a more indie route, and I saw benefits to both, but I knew that I didn't want to completely sign a 360 deal with a major. Even at 14, I saw how unappetizing that was. I saw these artists that didn't have any music at all, any original music at all, that were doing covers, go on to get massive publicity from a big show, and then the label signing them and kind of turning them into whatever they needed at the time, which was that was terrifying to me. I knew that I wanted to kind of establish my own sound, establish my own fan base, establish my own touring foundation before I ever decided to go that route. So recently, over the past year, I finally felt like I got to a point where it was getting too big for just myself, and I partnered with BMG, but it's still such a great deal that I still have so much, not only creative control, because I mean it's awesome being able to determine what music I'm doing, and I established a sound at that point, but also having control over merchandising and where I'm going to tour, and ticket prices and VIP packages and bundles, and although it's stressful being a part of all those little things, it's kind of what makes my story more special, because I always want to make sure that the fans are taken care of, and I feel like higher ups view fans as dollar signs. And I know what it's like to grow up without a lot of money. I know that it's not a very simple thing to do, and mustering up $20 to go to a concert is not super easy. So I've always made sure that I'm a part of those small decisions, whether it comes to ticket prices or VIPs or whatever, making sure that the fans are the most important, but also being a part of all the bigger decisions as well. It's amazing being able to have that kind of control over the things going on in my career.
But at your age, you're 18 now, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you started this before, so you're even younger. Did that add a lot of pressure, because then you have the business side to control, but you also have the creative?
It definitely does, and every day it adds more and more pressure, because there's more and more going on, and there's more things that I'm obligated to do in my day-to-day schedule that I have to balance with decision making and emails and all of that stuff, because I'm always requesting that people add me to everything, and I have a really amazing team that I allow to make some of the smaller decisions every once in a while. But I tend to get frustrated if I'm not on emails, and at least having the option to go in and make sure that I can monitor everything that's going on. So it is stressful, but it's totally worth it, especially now early on in my career. I feel like it's very worth it, and I feel like once it gets bigger, that I'll be able to kind of delegate certain decisions to other people and let them kind of people that I trust and people that know what I would want. But for now, I like being really heavily involved.
Yeah, have you noticed that, especially your debut record, that it kind of reaps its rewards now, that doing it this way, having gone, even though it's quite tough, that now the debut album is what you want?
And it feels so much sweeter. I mean, it feels like I've worked towards something. I've been a part of every single aspect of it, the design of the record, the track listing, like I've been a part of all of it, so it makes it even more exciting once it comes time to release. It adds a whole nother level of pressure, but at the same time, it just, regardless if 4 people download the record or 4 million, like I'm extremely happy with it. I know I did everything in my power to make it the record that I wanted it to be.
And I believe you've written this record in 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience.
Yeah, if you go back to that period, what was your mindset or your mood in that period?
We were all driven. We were in a war mode. I mean, it was really, looking back, I'm like thankful. Like it really pushed all of us to our limits. But when I saw the timeline, I was like, this is just impossible. Like there's no way we're gonna be able to write, record, mix, and master in a month and a half. But we ended up just working every single day of the week from 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. and it never felt overwhelming for some reason. I just never remember being like, wow, this is impossible. Wow, we're not going to make it. It was just, we were constantly inspired, constantly recording and writing and tracking, and we would write all day, and then we would record vocals all night, and we were just having so much fun. It never felt like work, and it was definitely one of the most incredible experiences I've had in my life so far, just being able to get all of that together in a month and a half and not ever feel stressed out about it, just kind of constantly be inspired and cutting.
Well, you mentioned inspiration, and you also mentioned breaking up with your girlfriend quite recently. So I don't know when this 6 weeks of writing was, but did that function as some of the inspiration?
Absolutely. There was a lot of, even towards the end of our relationship, we were both just very unhappy, trying to force it to work, and we weren't really unhappy with each other. We're still best friends, and we're still very close, but the distance and the busyness and everything that was all this added pressure, trying to balance a career and a relationship and being our age is not very simple at all. So there's a lot of the records written about those ups and downs, and there was no in between, and that was the hardest part, is kind of trying to balance that emotionally. And that's kind of why it came to an end, is because we couldn't handle all the back and forth. It was either perfect or it was awful.
Right.
So that's a lot of what the record's about, all the great things and all the hard things.
Well, there's one track that kind of stuck out for me, which is Black and Blue, because you mentioned a regret.
Yes, absolutely.
So what sparked this track?
Actually, it's a very, very, very personal regret, but it was one of the biggest regrets of my life. I remember when I got the call and I heard what happened, that I wrote the majority of the song by myself. After I hung up the phone, I sat in the hotel room. I was running late for my session, and I sat there and I wrote the chorus by myself, and I wrote the first verse by myself, and bringing it into the studio that night helped me get over it really quick. It helped me kind of get over that initial regret. So that song is very, very special to me, and maybe one day I'll be able to talk about what actually happened.
Fair enough. But what struck me about the track is, despite those lyrics, it's quite upbeat.
Yeah.
So is it important to balance those two?
It is. I feel like in the past my stuff was very mid-tempo, slow. That's because that's what I listen to. I enjoy the more singer-songwriter, slowed down ballad type stuff. So I really forced myself as an artist and songwriter, and Dave and everyone else. We'd really push each other to write up tempo, and not necessarily to force it, but we definitely wanted to think about the live show and how that was going to go over, and so that was really fun, kind of getting out of our comfort zone and writing some faster, more upbeat stuff, and it's going to make the live show just even better.
Jacob, thank you very much for your time.
Man, I appreciate it.
Thank you.